Shalom, shalom, mishpacha. Let's talk about manifestations. Let's talk about the wait time, and let's talk about the time to bring in a manifestation and why it can take longer and what to do about it to shorten the time. Let's try to understand this through a parable that Jesus of Nazareth gave. In Matthew chapter 13, verse 3, he says that, "Behold, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up, because they had no depth of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." And as he gives this to his disciples, they're all confused about it, about understanding the parable. And, they basically say to him, why do you speak? Disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" And he said to them, "Because it's been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he will be taken away from him." And that's why he said, "I speak in parables." He goes on to explain the parable. He says that the parable of the sower is as this: when anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. So let's understand here, the kingdom is not some allegorical or some heaven, as many of you are taught in churches that the kingdom is in heaven and you're going to die and go to heaven, and then, or perhaps you're going to die and be raised and then lifted up and go to heaven, etc. It's nothing to do with that. It is not that. It is not to do with a physical place called heaven. The seed here is simply, it could be an affirmation. Okay, basically, let me tell you what the seed is. The seed is a desire. It's a thing. It's an object. It's something that you want. So you plant it because you want it. For some people that may be a car. For other people, it may be a house. For some, it's a business. And for others, it could be a relationship. It could be a number of things. Anything. There's no particular item that we can put it on. We can put it on any quantify to any item. So he goes on to say that when anyone hears the word of the kingdom, what is the kingdom? The kingdom is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. So where do you plant the seed? Of course, you plant it in your internal kingdom of God. In this case, what is the kingdom? He explains it here. He says, "Does not understand that the wicked one comes and snatches away that was sown in his heart." Now, this heart, by the way, this is not a physical heart organ. This is not the organ that pumps blood. Physical heart is your subconscious. Okay, this is a subconscious mind. But Jesus is explaining here that when you take a desire, let's say that you said that you're making, I don't know, I'm going to pick a ballpark figure in the air. I'm going to pick a figure in the air and I'm going to say this is what you're making. Let's say you're making $10,000 a month, or you're trying to make $10,000 a month. Let's go with that. Let's not jump too much ahead. Let's just set a goal to what some people are making in this earth. Some people are making $10,000, some are making $5,000, some are making 20, some are making even 100,000 or more. So let's take a simple analogy of $10,000. And it may vary for different people, but let's not worry about that. So let's say your desire is to produce $10,000 a month every month has an income. Now, you write an affirmation. This is what Jesus explained, by the way. He said, you make a desire, you plant it, and then he says that anyone who hears the word of the kingdom does not understand it. Then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in the heart. So what's the wicked one? Wicked one is not some physical devil. It's not a physical person. The wicked one here is simply an example of you where you have doubts. You know, the word Satan, the meaning of word Satan is a doubt, doubter. That's the meaning of Satan. Can happen in a number of ways. One of the meanings of Satan, the word Satan, is a doubter, an obstructor. Okay, doubter and obstructor, even in the Hebrew language. So what happens? Let's say you decide you want $10,000 income a month, and then what happens? You start doubting yourself, and you start thinking to yourself, well, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to come from. And before you know it, you give up the idea because you're doubting it all the time. And your doubt is what takes away your seed. So your seed is finished by your doubts. That is exactly what Jesus is saying here, that doubts can remove the seed. But then he says, but he who received the seed on stony places, on a stony ground, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Somebody, you say to somebody, hey, you can make $10,000 a month. And they're so happy. They say, yeah, I like to make $10,000 a month. They're so happy they receive it, yet they have no root in himself, but endures only for a while. In other words, let's say this is an affirmation. I have $10,000, simple affirmation. I have $10,000, or you can say, I make $10,000 a month. Okay, very simple. You can word it in different ways, but let's just word it simply. I make $10,000 a month. And you say that to somebody, that this is your affirmation. I make $10,000 a month. You're going to work on it, and they receive it with joy. They're happy to receive it. Then what happens? They do it for 3 days, and then the fourth day they say, you know what? I don't see any result. They're looking in their in their present world, in their 5D, they're looking in their world and they're saying, you know what, I don't see any result, and so I'm going to give it up. This is BS. This doesn't work. I'm sorry, this doesn't work. So they give up, and so they ridicule you, the one who gave them the idea. They ridicule, say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I think that you're talking fables and fake stories and legends. This don't work. No, I'm not going to continue. So they give it up, and they go back to whatever life they had. Okay, that's the person who has a stony ground. They only endure for a while, for a few days. Then he says, for when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. This is he or she. So, in other words, it could also happen that a person who receives this word from you, you tell them, hey, would you like to earn $10,000 a month? They say, yeah. You give them the idea, you give them the affirmation, you say, do this, and it will happen. And they start, and then 3 days later, somebody comes to them and says, hey, what are you doing? And they say, I'm doing this. And they put some doubt into their head, and the person says, you know what, yeah, you're right, why am I wasting my time? And so what happens? They give up. Or, in this case, the tribulation or persecution is that somebody in the family hears it, that so-and-so person is doing this to earn $10,000 a month. News gets out, word gets out, somebody else hears in the family, hears it, and they're like, why are you doing this? Why are you wasting time with these affirmations? Don't you know that you're going to have to work hard to make that money? Don't you know that without working hard, you won't get it? So somebody else comes into this person and puts all sorts of tribulations, all sorts of problem areas, puts a problem in front of them, blocks in front of them, says that no, it's not going to happen without hard work. Or you need money to make money. They can come up with several arguments. You need money to make money, you need hard work, blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, that person falls and says, yeah, maybe you're right, and they fall away. Now then Jesus goes on to say, that in verse 22 he says, now he who received seed, among the thorns. What are the thorns? These are the people, the doubtful people around you, the doubters. And remember I told you that Satan is the word for doubt. So these people, technically, they are the friends of Satan, put it this way. They are friends of Satan because they live in doubt land. They don't live in a real land. They live in a doubt land where everything is doubtful, everything is not possible, and everything is fake. And so they are the ones, it says, now he receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches chokes the word, and he becomes unfruitful. So somebody who receives the seed, he has a lot of doubters around him, and he simply says, hey, money is only for the rich. I'm not meant to be rich, and it's not meant to be for me. So he uses all these excuses, and he ends up choking the word, the seed. He ends up killing it. And then Jesus gives a final example. He says, but he who receives seed on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and produces some 100, some 60, some 30. Now, Jesus here did not give you a time span. He did not say that the one who gave you the seed or the one who received the seed, he did it for, he practiced it for 3 months, or he practiced for 6 months, or he practiced for 9 months. He didn't say that. He didn't specify a time. So here what we are looking at is time. How long? I mean, some of you, now we're talking about the people, the people who actually received the seed in a good way. You received the good seed. You're the ones who are the doers. You received the seed. You're happy to receive it. You understand it. It's a process of time. And you also understand that your seed is a desire. And here I quantified the desire. I could have said anything, but I simply made it simple. I said, let's quantify the desire as $10,000 a month income. Okay, that's how we quantified it. For some people, it may be a car. For others, a house. For some, they want to get married. And maybe for another person, it may be they want healing from a disease. Different people have different needs. But everybody needs money. So this is why I quantified the desire to money, because everybody needs money to live. To buy your groceries, to pay your rent, or to pay your loans or whatnot. You need money. So I think the best desire quantified is as money, because without money, the world doesn't move. The world, needs money to do anything. So money is energy. Money is energy, and here Jesus also quantified that those who have it, more will be given to them, and those who don't have it, they have less, it will be taken away. Now that seems very harsh. Seems very harsh that if you did not have much, it says some fell on stony places, some that did not have much. So he explains the seed. Then before that he goes on to say that those when he goes on to say that those that have much will be given to them. For whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, what he has will be taken away. So here what that means is that if you live in a lack, there can be a lack mindset. What is a lack mindset? There can be an abundant mindset and a lack mindset. Abundant mindset doesn't mean that you need to have millions of dollars in your bank to have abundant mindset. Abundant mindset simply means that you're open-minded, that you believe that you deserve to have money, good things in life, and that you believe that you can be successful. That's an abundant mindset, by the way. And a lack mindset is maybe from the past, maybe something in the distant past, some problems that occurred with somebody, and they tend to believe that they don't deserve it, that they are meant to be poor, that they are meant to be struggling, and they're meant to remain where they are. See, that's a lack mindset. And in a lack mindset, abundance cannot come. So all Jesus is saying that if you live in a lack mindset, if you feel that you don't deserve it, you're meant to be poor, then that's where you will remain. You will not get any further. That's what he's saying. He's saying that if you live in an abundant mindset, if you feel that you deserve it, you're born to be rich, you're born to be a winner, you're born to be victorious, then you will get it, and you will be a winner, you will be victorious. Just persist. In other words, do not give up midstream. Do not give up midway. Do not let the thorns, do not let the doubters around you cause you to give up and go back to your older life. In other words, be the new man through the renewing of your mind. Be the new man and continue to pursue that path. Now, we are going to look at, I'm going to help you see, I'm not going to make excuses like some other people do, and I'm not going to give it to you and say, oh, it's divine timing. No. I'm sorry. There is no such thing as divine timing, okay? Because we like to when we can't explain an answer, when we can't explain something, we always say divine timing. No, not really. That's not entirely true, because there is no point at time that God wants you to suffer. I'm sorry, but God never wants you to suffer. God is love. God is a force of good. God is simply a force of good only. Sure, we do get things in our world, like disasters and the like, natural disasters, other things happening, bad things happening. And natural disasters, I don't really want to go into natural disasters and the causes, but I simply want to put a blanket statement that God is a force of good. Okay? God is only a force of good. And God always does good for people. And whether you believe in that or not is a different matter. God is love. God is a force of good. God is not here to punish you. So God can only do good for you, provided you want to receive good. So now let's come to the timing. Is it God's fault that you're getting delayed? Is it your fault? Now, majority of the time, a lot of the people out there do not want to believe that it is their fault. But let me assure you that it is your fault. Yes. 10 times out of 10, not even 9 times, 10 times out of 10, it is your fault if the manifestation is delayed. And if you get the manifestation quickly, then it's still you the one who did it. Okay? Because once you placed your manifestation, your desire in God's court, and you said, here you go, I am ready to receive this. God is happy to receive it. Okay? That's the consciousness. Consciousness connects us to God. God is consciousness. So where does consciousness live? We already discussed that in the previous lectures. Consciousness is in your subconscious. Your subconscious is the area, the idea of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, connects us from the subconscious. See, God is this ultimate force in the universe, in the galaxies beyond. And that force that we call God, that light, that force, that goodness, it connects to our subconscious. So, where do you have to implant and cement your desire is in your subconscious. And that's exactly what Jesus said in his example, where he gave the example and he said that, let me go back to that particular verse where he spoke about the heart, and he said it's snatched away from your heart. So let me find it. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. In verse 18 of Matthew 13, it says, therefore hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears a word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. Okay, so before it's even planted, before it's even properly planted, your heart here is your subconscious. So what Jesus is saying, that before you even planted it, and before you're trying to cement it in your heart, heart equals subconscious here, he says that it's taken away. In other words, it never got cemented. So Where does the problem lie? Okay, let me give you an example. You see here, rather than you come back to me and blame me for it and say, hey, Rabbi, it's your fault. You're the one who did it. You're the one who caused me to fail. No, you are your own failure. If you failed, then you are your own failure. And until you accept that, then you'll continue to fail. But if you accept that you can make mistakes, as human beings, everybody can make mistakes, and you correct your mistakes, and it is at that point that you are now ready in a position to receive your desire. Because your mistakes are what can cause you not to receive your desire. You do not point fingers at other people and say, it's your fault. I don't go and point fingers to my father and say, it's your fault that I did not go to university. Sure, I did go to university. It wasn't because of my father, by the way. He never sent me to university. My dad did not send me to university because he didn't have the money. So I did go to university, but I made my own road, my own money, my own desire, my own thoughts, my own wants, needs, etc., etc. I made it to the university. Not because of my father and not because of my mother. By the way, my mother wasn't around. She had passed on, but I did want to go to university, to school, as you call it, high school. I wanted to go to high school, but my dad did not have the money. So my dad told me, son, I don't have the money to send you to school. I'm sorry. If you can make your own way, fine. I don't have it. And so I can't sit here today, as many of you do, I can't sit here today and point finger at my father and say, you are the one to blame for my failures. You are the one who caused me to fail because you did not send me to university. Listen, folks. There are many people in the world today with degrees. Degree is nothing but a piece of paper. And it really has no value unless you apply that value in some place. So that degree, unless it's applied in some place, really has no value. Billionaires of this world, majority of the billionaires of this world did not, you all know it and I know it, they did not become billionaires because of a piece of paper. They became billionaires because of their ideas, because of what they wanted, and they knew what they wanted, and they invested and they took chance. And you have stories and stories and stories of people. And we've spoken about some of them. We spoke about Colonel Sanders last week, the KFC man who made KFC, how he made a lot of failures. A lot of times in his life he failed. He almost failed all the way in his life up to 62 before he became successful. So I'm not saying here, and I'm really, get it quickly and right in your mind. I'm not saying that you need to sit there and blame somebody else. That's number one. Number two, I'm not saying blame yourself either. That's number two. I'm saying that all you got to say to yourself is this: hey, I've been doing this up to this point, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, a year, 2 years. Well, listen. I know people, right? I have a student in Manila, okay? My student in Manila wants to make $1 million, okay? And last I spoke to her, I think it was before the new year, and she was still, she was still attempting to make $1 million. Now, I've given her some tips. I don't know if she implemented them or not, but that's the last I heard of her. And it wasn't that she wasn't doing the affirmations. She was. I don't know at this point. I cannot, sit over here and say she's doing X, Y, Z wrong, because I don't know the person's life. I don't know their routine. I don't know their routine, so I can't really comment on what it is that they could be doing wrong. It could be a number of areas that could be wrong. Number one, they live in a lack mindset. Number two, they're with negative people all around them all the time. Number three, they do not have the time to practice. Number four, perhaps, they have too many doubts. Number five, their methodology is incorrect. There's a whole host of things that could be done wrong. So here are my tips for you to be successful. In order to be successful, as I told you before, take down 3 of your top affirmations. 3, no more than 3, and write them down on a piece of card. And make sure you carry that card, or wherever you sit, that card should be in front of you. And you should have your 3 favorite affirmations on there that that you basically repeat. And you repeat them verbatim. In other words, you repeat them like a parrot, like a robot. You repeat them. So what is the best time and what is the way to shorten the time? Let me explain that to you as well and help you. Is in order, this idea of divine timing, I think it is wrong for us to always point to God and say it's His fault or He didn't do it, therefore He must be the one to blame. I think, like I said, 9 times out of 10, in fact I'll say 10 times out of 10, it is our fault and the finger points back at us as something we didn't do right. So how do we fix it? This is how we fix it. We know that we have to implant the good seed in our heart. Heart is a subconscious, okay? So we have to plant the good seed in our heart. So what we do is we take a clear affirmation, like I just gave you a clear affirmation, I make $10,000 a month. Nothing fancy about it, there's no fancy wording, and you don't even have to take my wording. You can design your own. You see, some of you speak in your native accent. Maybe you're from New York, you speak in a New York accent. Maybe you're from Chicago, you speak in a Chicago accent. Maybe you're from London, you speak in Cockney accent. Whatever your accent, whatever way you speak, that is the way you need to write your affirmation. That's number one key. Okay, that is the key point. Remember that. Whatever is your accent, whatever way you speak to yourself, that is the way that your mind will receive the affirmation the most quickest. So you need to write it the way you speak. I don't know how you speak. See, I don't sit with you, all of you, and engage your language. So I only give you an affirmation. And I say, you write down, I make $10,000 a month. Now, you may do it differently. And you may do it in the way you speak. So whatever way you speak, you reformulate that affirmation in the way you speak. Now you have your golden gem. You have the fix. This is the fix. The fix is the way you speak. That's the way your mind accepts it the quickest. Your mind accepts the affirmation the quickest is the way you speak to yourself. That's the first tip. Second tip. When you wake up in the morning, and let's not even talk about waking up. Let's talk about going to bed at night. When you go to bed at night, you should be reciting your affirmation at least 10 to 15 times before you hit bed. And when you hit your bed, when you go to your bed, you either do your imagination act or you do your affirmation and you go to bed sleeping, repeating that affirmation. That's the second tip. So third tip. This is now shortening the time period, by the way. This is now shortening the time period to you getting success. The third tip. The third tip is this. In the middle of the night, some people wake up to go to the bathroom. Sure. Wake up, go to the bathroom, come back and lie on your bed and start saying your affirmations. Start saying that affirmation, or maybe a couple of affirmations, 2-3 affirmations that you put on your card, repeat them. Keep repeating them. Repeat your affirmations and fall asleep. Let's say you wake up during your sleep again for some reason. Maybe the dog barked in the neighbor's yard, or maybe a truck passed by, a noisy truck, and you woke up. And that's okay. Then you again repeat your affirmation. While you're lying in your bed, consciously. You consciously bring your mind and repeat the affirmation. What is the benefit? The benefit is this. That is the best time that your mind, your heart, is going to receive the affirmation. It's going to cement it. That's the best time. Do it daily, okay? Fourth tip. When you wake up and you go to your bathroom and you're brushing your teeth, that is when you should be doing your affirmation. Do your affirmation when you're brushing your teeth. Do your affirmation when you're looking at the mirror. And do your affirmation if you're a male, if you're a man, you're shaving, or you're doing something in the bathroom, do your affirmation. That again is the best time to do your affirmation. And if you have a lot of thoughts, if a lot of thoughts are cropping in, put those thoughts to one side. Once you've done your bathroom thing and you made your coffee, you sit down, then maybe give yourself 4-5 minutes. 4-5 minutes, that's all. Nothing more than that. Maybe just close your eyes, do some deep breathing, clear your senses, clear your mind, slow down your thoughts, and then do your affirmation. Okay? Do your affirmation again for, after this 3-4 minute clean-up session, do your affirmations for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, that's all. And then you go on to your routine, you go to your workplace, or you go to your job, or whatever you do, and then just follow through with the affirmation at midday and evening. So you got your 3 times in the day already in, plus you got the key times, your best times for your affirmations. For this to sink in and cement is the night time when you're sleeping, and it's the middle of the night when you wake up. These are the best times, so do it. I'm going to put this lecture on public. I want everybody to listen to it so they can get their desires, whatever is their desire. Just simply write it down in the language that you speak. And it doesn't have to be English. It could be Spanish if you speak Spanish. It could be Italian if you speak Italian. Whatever language, German for that matter. So write it in the language that is most common to you. For me, the most common language to me, by the way, is not the language of the East. It's actually the language of English. That is the most common language. That's the language I use mostly to speak to people. So I write it in English. But for yourself, feel comfortable in writing it in Spanish or English or Italian or German, Hebrew or Arabic or Hindi or whatever. Whatever is your language that you feel comfortable with, write it in that language. And then follow through the steps I gave you. There is no reason for you not to succeed. You will succeed. You just got to bear with it, and you got to know that you are planting the seed and continue with it. Persist, and resist the devil. What's the devil? Doubt. Resist doubt. Persist. Affirm and persist. Affirm and persist. And you will get your desire very, very fast. If you apply these 4 techniques I gave you, you will get your affirmations, your desire very quickly. There is no, I'm not going to put a time on it, but you could be looking at success within 4 months. Within 4 months, less than 4 months. So, but you have to follow through the process. That is the process. And God's not going to interfere, and God's not going to put hurdles in your way, and none of that's going to happen. Be very clear about God is a force of good. God is only here to give you good. God is not here to punish you. He is not here to feel good about you suffering. No, none of that. God is a force of good, and God can only do good. We are the ones that cause our suffering because we go the wrong way, because we do the wrong things. And by doing the wrong things, we create suffering for ourselves. So please understand that God is great. God is wonderful. Baruch Hashem. I praise that God. I thank that He gave us this opportunity to speak about His goodness. So with that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Today is Thursday. So until the Sabbath, have a wonderful day, and shalom, shalom to you.